Hello again. Welcome back to the Transformation Journey Roadmap. We're in stage 5 now, Steward Your Sensitivity, and we're with Consensus Reality Stewardship. There's two kinds of stewardship that we'll be discussing in this course, and we're going to work with Consensus Reality Stewardship. That's lesson 1. Now, as always, that reminder about how challenging the inner edges are, and that amazing edge and the boundary between what you believe about who you are and the unknown parts of yourself. And want to remind you and honor how normal it is that when we are traveling the edges, we can get a little, ooh, it's too much, and it goes underground, remember? And that's normal. There's nothing wrong going on. It's like you're taking a little bit, opening up, becoming aware, tracking something, and then, okay, wait. Let's just tuck that back in. So take good care of yourself, especially in this module, as you journey along the edges. And remember, a gentle, loving reminder, pushing yourself over the edge does not serve. So just notice what you need. If you need to drop away, come back, you just go ahead and do that. So here's our roadmap, the guide to navigate the edges of change. And now we're in stage 5. And I'll remind you, again, in this course, you're going through sequentially with me, and you'll see at the end in stage 6, you really choose what stage is most appropriate for you and support yourself that way. So you can do this roadmap in whatever way you want, whatever way is right for you. And honoring, again, this is for visionaries, ones who have foresight, unusual foresight and imagination, and want to develop the capacity to hold their visionary nature in a really powerful way. So here in stage 5, Steward Your Sensitivity, the focus is embrace self-responsibility and respect your sensitivity. So here for stage 5A, that's what I'm calling the consensus reality stewardship, is stage 5A. Lesson 1, here's the learning outcomes. Get an introduction to stage 5 stewardship. Recognize ways to do consensus reality stewardship. You'll understand what that is at the end of this lesson. Meet the fragmented ones in the wild mind map, and complete consensus reality stewardship practice number 1, or CR for short. So stage 5A, consensus reality stewardship. This is your stage when you're willing to take responsibility to steward your sensitivity. You really realize you want to move from perhaps a painful victim stance and overwhelmed stance to kind of lean in and say, you know what? I am sensitive. I'm going to lean in and take responsibility to take care of myself. You'll engage with self-healing work with the wounded inner figures, and you'll continue to cultivate your wholeness allies to deepen your wholeness. Oh, Werner Erhard says, you and I possess within ourselves at every moment of our lives, under all circumstances, the power to transform the quality of our lives. We are ever-changing beings. We're not stagnant. We have the power to transform the quality of our lives. So here's a way to consider sensitivity. It's a particular definition I use. If it serves, use it or make another one up for yourself. Sensitivity, keen awareness of the energies of self, others, and the larger field. And when I say others, it's not just humans. Many of us are acutely sensitive to animals, whether they're wild or domesticated. And the larger field, that idea of there's so much else present in our ordinary reality. The larger field, presences of energies, memories, ancestors, spirits, all kinds of things in the larger field. You may be sensitive in many, many ways. So a definition of stewardship, the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. And your mission, should you choose to accept it, is both consensus reality stewardship and dreamland stewardship, which we'll talk about in the next module. So consensus reality stewardship. You are the one who is sensitive to all the inner figures in your guest house, all those inner figures, and your inner figures are entrusted to your care. In connection with your wholeness allies, such as the nurturing and generative adult, you are a compassionate steward of all the inner figures in your ecosystem. And you explored this in stage 3, gather your inner allies. So let's go back to the wild mind map. In stage 3, you explored the inner wholeness allies with the wild mind map of the human psyche. And here again is one way of looking at 4 archetypal wholeness allies. We have many more, but these are very archetypal for all beings. In that north, that generative nurturing adult. In the south, that wild embodied one, connected to feelings and senses and vitality. The east, the sage innocent, and the west, the mused beloved. Remember that you have whole as well as wounded inner figures. Your wounded inner figures are entrusted to your wholeness care. So let's pause. I want to invite you to take a breath in whatever way is comfortable for your body. Take a moment to connect with a wholeness ally. It might be one that you've met already in this course, or just a sense of support. So you might touch your heart and breathe and just, yes, I am supported. Just feel that. For some of you, you might remember the feeling of the tree, the journey to the tree, the deep, nurturing, generative tree of you. Just feel that support. Or the animal ally that you've connected with. Just deep support here at the threshold before we go and explore very vulnerable and human experiences. Get your wholeness on, okay? Thank you. So now we're going back to the wild mind map and we're going to explore the 4 fragmented ones. Now, here's how Bill Plotkin defines these. He also calls them subpersonalities. The wounded and sometimes hidden fragments of our human psyche. They form in childhood with the enduring purpose of protecting us from physical, psychological, and social harm. They are the source or instigators of our psychological symptoms and illnesses, and we all have them. This is again big heart energy, and I'm hearing again that quote from Angela Sarian. We all come from the scar clan. We all suffer. We're more than our suffering, but we all have pain and suffering, and we have fragmented ones. So here's the 4 fragmented ones from Bill's map. In the north, he calls this the loyal soldier or the lion tamer. In the south, he calls them wounded children. I call them the wounded childish ones, and I'll talk about that in a moment. In the east are addict and escapist, and in the west are shadow and shadow selves. Again, pause and breathe because I'm going to go through each of these a little bit more, and I want to invite you to just keep your heart connected to your wholeness allies and breathe and recognize this is in all of us. So the north fragmented ones, the loyal soldier and lion tamer, my preferred term for this one is the inner critic. These ones, they try to keep us safe by inciting us to act small, either beneath our potential or one-dimensionally, in order to secure a place of belonging in the world. And in some way, most of us really know this one, whether it's an inner figure pointing a finger at us, criticizing us, or trying to shut us down. When you're caught in this one, in this identity of your North Fragment ones, you may act like a rescuer, a codependent, an enabler, a tyrant, a dictator, because some of that acting small is, okay, I'll take care of it all, but we're so busy trying to control things that we can't be our full self. So the loyal soldier, lion tamer, inner critic in the North. In the South, I call the wounded childish ones. They try to keep us safe by attempting to get our basic needs met using the immature, emotion-fueled strategies available to them. One way of thinking of this is the wounded inner child, which again, with great compassion, we all have some characters in us like that. And when we're caught in this identity, we're acting very childlike in a wounded way, in that sort of immature emotional experience. So you might really be caught in an identity of victim. Or the conformist, that's a classic one. Be the good girl, good boy, good child, the people pleaser. What do you want? I'll be that for you. Okay. I know that one particularly well. That's one of my go-to fragmented ones. Okay, just true confessions. The rebel, that's one way. It's like the pissed off teenager. You're not accepting me. you're dismissing me, you're marginalizing, well, to you, and really be acting out in a rebellious way. The entitled one, princess or prince, where you're above it all and pretending, because in your pain and suffering, that it doesn't matter to you, that you're better than this. Or just absolutely the pain of feeling like an orphan and not belonging. And again, I myself, even giving you this material, I just want to breathe deeply, because this is a really vulnerable place in each of us, and it's universal. So honoring that this belongs. Remember, deep democracy, these ones belong also. And then there's the East fragmented ones, the addicts and the escapist. They try to keep us safe through evasion, rising above traumatic emotions and circumstances, and sidestepping distressing challenges and responsibilities. And my goodness, our culture has trained us up to be escapist, and there's all kinds of options for addiction to check out. When we're caught in this identity, you may act, or I may act, like an addict, literally having a challenge with a process addiction. I mean, a substance addiction, but also a process addiction like screen addiction or shopping. A bliss head, just kind of out of it. One who's caught in spiritual bypass, which that's a phrase that means we just rise above everything. Everything's one, everything's all connected. There's no problem, nothing, no, I have no problems. I'm all one with the universe, but in a very superficial, wounded way, not in a deeply rooted, spiritually mature way. Or what's called the puer puella, which is a term from depth psychology, which is perpetual boy girl, like just out of here, fine, gone. Now you see him, now you don't. Will not stay and do the hard work. Just check out. All right. That's the East one. And then the West fragmented ones, Bill calls the shadow and shadow selves. I like to call this one the inner denier. You'll see that later in the slides. These ones try to keep us safe through the repression, making unconscious of our characteristics and desires that are unacceptable or inconceivable to our ego. Remember, our ego is our conscious identity. Nothing wrong with our ego. But as you know from process work, there's a lot else going on. Or from depth psychology, there's a lot else going on underneath our conscious consensus reality ego. So the shadow selves, they're trying to repress parts of ourselves that are unacceptable. And often when we're caught in this one, we actually enact some part of ourselves that our conscious ego would be horrified that we were actually doing. When you're caught in this identity, you might act like an inflated hero or heroine. I'm going to rescue everything when you don't feel that inside. You can be actually acting out in a monstrous way, in a demon or carrier of projections and transferences, a sense of expressing parts of you that you just would be horrified if you actually were tracking. And we all have had that experience. Again, the universality of these fragmented ones, when you blurt something out and you think, oh, I don't know what came over me. I can't believe I said that, or you suddenly have this huge anger outburst and I'm not an angry person. I don't get angry. And all of a sudden you've just had a rage attack. That's normal. That's human experience. The shadow part is erupting out of the unconscious. So again, compassion and love, because these are universal fragmented ones in each of us. Okay, so here they are again. Take a breath. And remember, with the four directions, maybe you can notice where the fragmented energy comes from, because the north is that winter, midnight strength, resiliency, nurturing character. Well, in a fragmented, wounded way, it's not nurturing, it's criticizing and belittling. Also, the South, when it's in its wholeness, is that wild, embodied one. And when we're in a fragmented South, the feelings, the overwhelm has taken over, and we're just acting out of intense emotions, and we're not really held or supported. The East, in its healthy expression, is that sunrise, spring, see the bigger picture, illuminate, be willing to see what there is to see. The addict cannot see what's there and does all this obscurations, to make sure, no, I'm out of here. And then the West, in its healthy expression, is that energy of sunset and autumn and that opening to the depths and the mysteries and being willing to let die what is over and longing to be in a deeper soul relationship with the world and yourself. Well, the shadow selves just repress all that mystery and says, nope, nope, nope. I'm just vanilla. I'm just this version of regular reality. Again, this is what they're up to. So, again, taking a breath is very strong material. Pace yourself, dear ones, as you're watching this. So, Bill goes on to say in the Wild Mind Map book, the key to healing and growing whole is not suppressing symptoms, eliminating wounds, or eradicating subpersonalities, but rather cultivating our wholeness. So, remember the wholeness allies from that map. I see them as stewards of your consensus reality selves. They are your innate psychological resources. They hold that lantern of compassion and strength. So here they are. Here's another version of the map. Okay, that grounded, generative adult in the north, embodied, feeling one in the south, wise one in the east, and deep depth seeker in the west. So consensus reality stewardship. Connect to your wholeness allies, especially your nurturing generative adult who can compassionately care for all the inner figures in your consensus reality guest house. So remember that your inner protectors took on the job to ensure that you belong socially so that you would survive and not be exiled. You may find in this course with me, oh, there she is going again, repeating that. I know that, Sheila. You'll forget. Let me tell you, I forget. And then they catch me, my protectors catch me. They catch me in their little cage, and I go, oh, forgot that they're always trying to make their moves. So I'm just saying. However, you can successfully navigate the difficult places and situations that you couldn't do as a child. Again, unless you have experienced unhealed trauma. And if so, it is essential to get external support to heal with a therapist, counselor, healer, or group support. And one of the ways you'll be able to tell is if you begin to open up to some of these inner figures or inner patterns of self-sabotage, and it's actually derailing you in a very difficult way. It's like, wait, stop. It's beautiful to do this work. It may be a phase of your life where you need to have an external ally to help you. Please take care of yourself. So here's consensus reality stewardship practice number 1. And this is a short little journaling. I mean, just very like marking down in your journal or your sketchbook or just sitting in reflection. First, identify a primary fragmented one with whom you struggle. As I've gone through this material, if you're like most of us, you'll go, all of them, Sheila, all of them. Okay. But there might be one that really came to the surface and said, wow, this one's really up. The inner critic, a wounded childish one, like the victim, the orphan, the rebel, an escapist, an inner denier, shadow selves where I just keep, nope, 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 not me, not me. Just take a moment and just breathe and just what your heart knows. Again, the mind doesn't have to get too involved here because you already know, having been watching this video, what's been stirred for you. So just notice. You don't have to just pick one, but I say just choose the primary one that you're aware of right now. And then secondly, in this practice, acknowledge one way that you notice they express in you. And I'm going to review. So with the inner critic or the loyal soldier, you act small. It's self-diminishment moves. So it might be, that phrase that you caught in stage 1 that just is always trying to put you down, or you act really small and invisible. That's one of the ways. For the wounded childish one, it's some kind of immature emotionality. You just have tantrums, or you just really are so distraught because you feel so victimized all the time. Again, tenderly recognizing some kind of emotional acting out. If the escapist is kind of the core for you, you have evasion moves, substance or process addictions, checking out, just, I'm out of here. I'm just not here. Or the inner denier, the shadow selves, the repression. One thing I'm not is, I'm not that. If there's a need to I'm not that. All right. So just kind of breathe and notice, because really what we're doing here again is a tracking practice through the lens of consensus reality stewardship. So you might just note of that key fragmented one, what is one way that you notice that it expresses in you, a key way? You can come back and reflect more on this. And we will be working with each of these in this module. Okay, now, very simple journey here, very simple process. Pause and connect to your heart. Take a breath in whatever way is right. Touch your heart if you want. Very simple imagery process. Close your eyes and imagine this fragmented one in your heart. Whether you have an image or not, it doesn't matter. Just put them in your heart. Oh, escapist, you're in my heart. Oh, wounded young one, you're in my heart. Oh, inner critic, you're in my heart. Oh, denier, you're in my heart. Just feel your big heart holding them. And you can keep your eyes closed, and I'm going to suggest 3 statements to give them. Do this only if it feels right. Eyes closed, you're with them. Gently tell this one, I see you. And then tell them, I know what you're up to. And then, I love you. And just notice how that feels. Thank you. Thank you for compassionately recognizing a fragmented one in your guest house. You've just completed your first consensus reality stewardship practice, which you could go back to anytime you need. You could do it in a minute, just poof, there you are. So here in stage 5A, lesson 1, you've completed these learning outcomes. You got an introduction to stage 5 stewardship. You recognize ways to do consensus reality stewardship. You met the fragmented ones in the wild mind map, and you completed consensus reality stewardship practice number 1. Okay, in lesson 2, you'll explore a way to support your loyal soldier inner critic. Come on over when you're ready.